You see, we were all new to television in those days, and we did not know what a thing we had, what a powerful medium that we were working with.
Instead of asking what party will bring prices down, why not ask what party put prices up? Then vote for a change.
It was the first time that television had ever been used to try to help a president be elected.
In politics, you have a one-day sale. You have every customer allowed in the store for 1 or 2 minutes on that day.
I'm confused. Who am I measuring McGovern against? Gut feeling. My gut feeling. McGovern's hand voted for Kennedy.
And you have to sell a majority or plurality of the market, or you are out of business. You might say the three parties are ABC, NBC, and CBS.
In keeping with Chevron's tradition of service throughout the 20th century, the people of Chevron bring you this program in support of public television.
I'm Bill Moyers. Have you ever stopped to think when you pull that lever, what influenced your vote? What made you choose one presidential candidate over another? What did you know about your choice, and how did you know it? There was a time when everything we knew about the men who would be president, we learned from word of mouth. Party faithful spread the word at political rallies, torchlight parades, barbecues, and even tea parties. And partisan papers, without any tribute to journalistic standards, lavished eloquent adjectives on their favorites and profaned the opposition. If you were lucky, as time moved on, you might have had a chance to hear the candidate himself as he whistle-stopped through town. But things have certainly changed since the turn of this century, when William McKinley sat on his front porch in Canton, Ohio, and expected the voters to come by to see him in person. Today, much of what we know about the candidate we get directly from the screen in front of you. No single force has changed American politics more than this little box. And the part of the change that's our subject in this broadcast is the television commercial. It's given us the 32nd president who speaks by the skill and with the images of the ad men and women who make the spots that urge us to buy this or that or do this or do that. The first person to join the medium and the candidate became one of the giants of American advertising. The same man who sold you this.
The administration has spent many billions of dollars for national defense. Yet today, we haven't enough tanks for the fighting in Korea.
Also sold you this.
Take Emerson for fast, fast, fast relief.
Now watch what happens when I use Rolaids miracle ingredient. All the acid here is taken care of.
M&M's milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
His name was Rosser Reeves.
Hello, YouTube. The clip that you just saw is called A Walk Through the 20th Century with Bill Moyers. That was episode 16, titled The 32nd President. And he filmed that in 1984. It ran on PBS. And I was perusing my bookshelf recently, and I came across a book that I had read called Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman. Public Discourse in the Age of Show Business. And perusing through it, and I found in here that he referred to Bill Moyers, the 32nd President documentary. And so I looked up the documentary. I'll post the link in the description if you care to listen to the rest of it. But I found it very interesting especially in today's political climate and with it being an election year. And this is the an anniversary, 20th anniversary edition. And I'll read the back of it. Television has habituated us to visual entertainment measured out in spoonfuls of time. But what happens when we come to expect the same things from our politics and public discourse? What happens to journalism, education, and religion when they too become forms of show business? 20 years ago, Neil Postman, Lively Polemic, was the first book to consider the way that electronic media were reshaping our culture. Now, with TV joined by the internet, cell phones, cable, DVDs, amusing ourselves to death carries even greater significance. Elegant, incisive, and terrifically readable, it's a compelling take on our addiction to entertainment. Amusing ourselves to death. Great read. I get the information and I just like to share it with others. And the interesting thing is, do you know when he wrote this book? Copyright 1985. And so I share that clip. And in today, you'll often hear that a lot of, you'll hear people lament, well, the downfall of our society ever since social media, fake news, and on it goes. And now we're even judging people by what news network they listen to. And you can go right on down the list of the news networks. And a great presentation by Bill Moyers that at least it got me to think. And isn't it interesting with the advent of the television coming into our homes, how it influences us in the commercials, shows, and we're just so influenced by it. I know I was influenced by it as a kid and seeing the things that I watched, and I think it even impacts what person does in their life and choosing professions and a number of things because of what they saw or grew up watching. And then now, besides television, we've got everything else now with the internet, with our cell phones. We're plugged in, and just go right on down the list to the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Facebooks, and even this platform, YouTube, is one of the last ones that I use. Facebook, I deactivated. I have a created account just because I like to use the Facebook Marketplace. It's just a generic account for that. But it's something to think about as people vote. Early voting has already started. I've already have voted here in Ohio. I got it out of the way. But there's still other days for early voting, and of course, with Election Day coming next month. And so it's a great question. How are we being influenced today in choosing candidates? And it seems like nothing has changed. As you can see from those clips, and how we choose candidates. Here, I'll play this clip. Does this sound familiar? Listen to this.
Eisenhower answers America.
General, both parties talk about bringing down food prices. How do we know which party to believe?
Well, instead of asking what party will bring prices down, why not ask what party put prices up? Then vote for a change.
You know what things cost today. High prices are just driving me crazy.
Yes, my Mamie gets after me about the high cost of living. It's another reason why I say it's time for a change. Time to get back to an honest dollar and an honest dollar's worth.
Eisenhower answers America.
Who else is tired of the high prices and inflation? Same thing. Same thing we have got going on today. And a lot of things are entertainment. Even when you turn on the news, the music that starts, right? To be entertaining. I remember that movie, The Gladiator. Great movie. And Maximus, after fighting, kills everybody in the Colosseum. And he yells to the crowd, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Isn't this what you're here for?" And the crowd erupts. And now today, instead of the Colosseum, what do we have today? Stadiums, sports is our, I would even say sports is could be the religion of the United States. How adamant and how fanatic we are when it comes to sports and sports teams. People are very, very serious when it comes to their sports. For me personally, I can care less who's playing. I don't even have a TV in my house. I got rid of it. And all I have is the internet in my house. No television. So I don't have that, as some people call, the idiot box. And commercials that can be so annoying and are going to be even more annoying here coming up with the holiday season. Can't stand all those commercials. And when you see through it and you see that this season is all about making money and how we're being influenced and manipulated through media. And we've got everything from Netflix to lives to streaming. Go right on down the list as we continue to amuse ourselves to death. And so I just share this information. I think it's timely. Bill Moyers' documentary, The 32nd President. And I'll end this video with what he said at the end of his documentary. And I think it's very well said. And I think it's something I think we all can ponder. And I just hope that soon we can end a lot of this divide in this country. And a lot of it coming from what we're hearing through our screens or seeing. And the medium that we're getting our information from. And I think that plays a big part of the division, is people are hearing different things, they're seeing different things. Well, I heard over here, well, I read over here, I saw over here. I have my information, you've got your information, and we are just so split. And now with the two candidates that we're voting for, oh my gosh, we are just at each other. Terrible. I don't think has there ever been a time like this in our country where we are so divided and so heated over the current presidential candidates? I don't know. I can't recall a time like this. We just had our issues. I know it's always been one of those things. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, those hot button topics you just avoid if you want to keep your friendships. And but boy, today we have a lot of those hot button topics that really just send people oftentimes over the edge. And so I hope that soon we can get past this. But something tells me that no matter who gets elected, we are still going to have this division. And we're going to continue to have all the news outlets, whoever is elected, is going to be being so critical. And I think it's just going to add to the continued division that we have today in this country. And I think it's sad where we are today. And anyway, that's all I wanted to share. I thought it was timely. Again, I'll put the link of Bill Moyers' documentary in the link if you care to see it. So anyway, that is all. Thanks for watching. So the next clip you'll see is Bill Moyers giving his recap of his documentary. Hope you enjoy it. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.
The use of political commercials, does the best man win or the most telegenic?
I don't think it's either. You know, people will come to me and say, "Are you sure you work for the right candidate? You're a very powerful person in this realm." And I say that's an undemocratic question. The right candidate is not for me to decide. It's for the voters to decide.
You and I, as voters, also have to decide what we think of political spots. I'm ambivalent myself. I don't buy the argument that they undermine democracy. In a way, they serve democracy by reaching more people in a single instant than a whistle-stop campaign ever could, or a speech on the stump. When William Jennings Bryan was running for president, his speeches sometimes lasted 3 hours. Imagine him trying that on a television audience that's come to expect fast relief. One thing to be said for political spots is that they enable candidates to choose their message on their terms. The politician is not left to the mercy of newspaper editors or television producers looking for that 10-second excerpt that fits the reporter's script. The fact is, candidates can say a lot in 30 seconds that they think a voter should know about them or their opponents. And I'm not worried that they'll carry the day. No spot has the last word. We have news reports, the opposition's campaign, other publications, and our own common sense against which to measure its claims. That's one reason viewers have learned to take much of what they see in commercials, political or otherwise, with a grain of salt. Even so, if political spots don't undermine democracy, they trivialize its conversation. They reduce issues to black and white. They're frequently vague, and they can be misleading, deliberately or unwittingly. That 1964 Daisy commercial, for example, was intended to make people think about the urgency of controlling nuclear weapons and to remind them of Lyndon Johnson's prudence. It wasn't meant to make you think Barry Goldwater wanted to blow up little children. Yet although Goldwater's name was never mentioned, that's how a lot of people interpreted the ad. Furthermore, the Daisy spot is a classic example of how emotional ads in politics can be irrelevant to government. Nuclear responsibility is an issue in every election. But in 1964, the issue that should have been debated openly and candidly was what were we going to do about Vietnam? It haunts me all this time later that Lyndon Johnson was portrayed as the peacemaker in that campaign and Barry Goldwater the warmonger, but it was LBJ who, after his re-election, committed the country to a long, bloody war in Vietnam that eventually we lost. If my memory is correct, we never touched on Vietnam in any of the political spots in 1964. Political advertising tends to be an expensive and amusing sideshow to the real business of government. one more diversion in the theater of entertainment we all now live in. So I come down believing we have to keep looking for alternatives to carry on the political conversation of America, using television because it's here to stay, but using it in a way that does justice to the ideas and serious purpose of the men and women who run, and to the responsibility of all of us who must weigh what they say and act on it. I'm Bill Moyers.